Alright, it is started. And let me take you to the practice quiz. Problem number 1. Convert 1/8 to a percentage. Okay, 30 seconds more. Okay, the easy way to do this is to pull out your calculator and you take 1 divided by 8 on the calculator and you get 0.125, what the calculator will show, and that's the decimal. And then you move it 2 places to the right and you get 12.5%. The hard way to do it is 8 going into 1, and you bring this up, and so 8 goes into 10 one time, bring this down, and then 2 is 16, and then goes in there 5 times, and you get 0.125 that way. But in either way, we've got to convert it to a decimal first, and then into a percentage. And give me feedback on just that one. I want to see how that one went. So type it in, but don't hit enter quite yet. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. Okay, and we can use the protocol I did before, which was the numbers as well. And alright, let me have you do number 2 and 3. Okay, 30 seconds more. Alright, 0.6 as a percentage. My instinct is to go ahead and say, oh, that's 6%, but that's wrong. I've got to do this, move the decimal 2 places to the right, and it creates an extra 0, and it's 60%. And 0.6 is to 1, as 60% is to 100. 60 is to 100. And then 125% as a fraction. Whoops. 125% means divided by 100. Divide by 25, there's 5 quarters, and there's 4 quarters, 5/4, and you can leave it like that, or you can write it as a mixed number of 1 and 1/4. either way. Alright, and then do number 4. Write 0.04% as a decimal. Okay, 30 seconds more. Okay, my first reaction on this might be, oh, that's 4%. No, 4. But I'd be wrong. 0.04, when I take away the percent, I move it to the left 2 places, and it's 0.0004. Now, it might seem strange. Why did I move it? And you might get like confused, like, well, all right, now I'm confused. Which way do I move one of these? Take a really simple one to get oriented. 50%. We know that that's 0.5. Which way do I move the decimal? To the left 2 places. And so that helps me realize, yes, I had to move this to the left 2 places. You always make that number smaller, not bigger, when you're getting it. Because percent means divide it by 100, move the decimal to make it smaller 2 places. Okay, so this would be it. Alright, so give me feedback on 2, 3, and 4, and you can choose which one you want to give me feedback, or all of them, and use the protocol. Type it up, don't hit enter quite yet. Go ahead and hit enter. Number 5. 519 out of 879 people were wearing masks in the Santa Fe Plaza. What percentage were wearing masks? And 30 seconds more. So I'm going to go to the calculator. Put in 519 divided by 879. And I get 0.59 something, so 0.59 will be good enough. So that's decimal. Oops, 59% when I move it 2 places to the right. So 59%, a little more than half, were wearing masks. And all right, I'm interested in feedback on this particular one. So give me feedback on this one. Don't hit enter quite yet. All right, go ahead and hit enter. So, do 6 part A. Okay, 30 seconds more. All right, we're going to distribute the negative and the 2/3 together to get rid of the parentheses. When I distribute the negative 2/3 times the 3x, negative times the positive is negative. The 3's cancel out, and I get 2x. And I distribute it to the 9. I'm going to do this work in my head as well. 2 negatives make a positive. The 9 and the 3 cancel, and reduce this to a 3. 3 times the 2 is 6. Alright, then there's no like terms on the right hand side. But on the left hand side, these two are like terms. So I'll put them together. Now I'm going to bring all the x's over to the left. And after this I'll bring all the numbers to the right. But something surprising happens. All the x's cancel out. I get 12 plus 0x, 8 plus 0x. 0 times x is 0, so this is really 12 equals 8. And then, the big question that comes to mind is the answer 12 or is the answer 8? Which one of these is it? Well, it's neither. When all the letters disappear, you are left with a statement that's either always true or always false. Now what this means is that, suppose I substituted 0 in for x. I would get 12 and 8. The left-hand side is going to be 4 bigger than the right-hand side. Suppose I substitute 1 for x. I'm going to get 10 on the left and 6 on the right. The left-hand side is still going to be 4 bigger than the right-hand side. The left-hand side is always going to be 4 bigger than the right-hand side, no matter what the x is. Always false. When you get an always false statement, you have no solution. If it was an always true statement, then everything is a solution. All real numbers is a solution. All right, this one had a number of stumbling points. Getting rid of the fraction can be a stumbling point. Double negative over here, coming to always false. Give me feedback on this one. And go ahead and hit enter. go to B. Work that one out. Thirty seconds more. Okay, so first step, there's no like terms on each side, so I'm gonna move all the number terms over to the right. The next step, I am going to get rid of this -1/2, but instead of dividing both sides by -1/2, I multiply by the reciprocal. On both sides. Now, since I'm multiplying both sides by a negative number, the sign gets changed. The direction of the arrow changes. All right, there's one additional thing that I need to do to keep this correct at this point. If I don't put a parenthesis here, this means subtraction. I really mean this to be multiplication, so I need an extra parenthesis here. Alright, so then these all cancel out and you get x. This turns around, and we're often asked to graph it, but I didn't ask you to graph it this time. So this would be it. X is greater than or equal to -4. Give me feedback on that one. There's also a kind of a complex problem. Okay, go ahead and hit enter. And questions. Any questions on any homework problems or anything else? Any concepts?
This is Randolph. I had a question on 0.5, number 60. I just wanted to make sure that I did that right.
All right. Let me look it up here. Those are often good questions to ask, because even when you got something, but you're just not sure if it's right, especially when it's an odd or even numbered problem. 5 1/3%. So, first thing I would do is I'd punch out 1/3 on my calculator. And when I do that, I get 0.33 repeating. Now let's just put a couple of these down. Maybe put one more. It doesn't really matter how many you put down. You can put down 7, or, just give me a few at least. It's still this. And then percent means divided by 100. So I'm going to take this decimal and move it 2 places left. When I do that, it'll introduce a 0 here. Something like this would be a legitimate answer. You could also write your answer like this. The bar above it means the 3 goes forever and ever and ever. And even if you just gave me 1 3, I'd be okay with that. I'm looking more for, do you guys get the concept, get the ideas, other than do you ever, how you're doing all these little tiny details like rounding off. Does that answer your question, Randolph?
Actually, for that one, looks like it says to change it to a fraction in its lowest terms.
Oh, I misread the directions. Well, I didn't even read the directions. I just assumed. Fraction in its lowest terms. All right. So
Yes, sir.
all this, let's cancel out. So this becomes, I would change it. All right. So it's 5 1/3 percent divided by 100. And then I would take 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16 over 3 divided by 100 over 1. And then I would make copy dot, oops, 1 over 100, flip. And then I would reduce a little bit. 4 goes into this 4 times. 4 goes into this 25 times. So in its reduced form would be 4 times 1, which is 4 over 75. That would be it.
Okay, that's what I got.
Nice.
But I was a little thrown off by the 5 1/3 and all that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Other questions?
I have a question about the one you just did. When you actually did it, when you were trying to figure out the decimal, when you were not following the instructions, and you said punch 5 1/3 in your calculator. How do you punch that in if you don't have one of those fancy calculators?
Oh, okay. I wouldn't punch in the whole thing. I would just punch in the 1/3. Do 1 divided by 3, and it gives you 0.3333. And then you do 5 point, and then 3333, like that.
Okay.
All right, good question.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Number 55.
0.5, number 55. Six and 1/4%. Change to a fraction. This time I'll have the directions correct. I'm going to do it slightly different. I'm going to change it to a mixed number right away. Or improper fraction. It's a mixed number right now. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So 6 1/4 is the same as 25/4. So I could do that part first if I want. And then percent means divided by 100. Now, that 100 is really over 1. And once again, I'm going to do copy, dot, and then flip this over. And then I'm going to reduce. Divide that by 25, divide that by 25. it reduces to 1/16. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? All right. No more questions. Let's get started on the next section, which is more on percentages. So the kind of like the next in line section was intro to percentages. But we wanted to make sure that you all had the background information first, which is, you're up to date with your skills on converting percentages, decimals, and fractions back and forth. Because this section kind of assumes that you have that skill real fresh. All right. So, I need to check again on our groups. We have 5 groups. And real quick, make sure the group leader has designated who's the spokesman for the day. Go into your group and just type hi in the group chat. And so you can give me a count of how many people are in each group. And group 1, how many of you are here? Nobody here in group 1. Group 2, how many are here?
There's 2 of us.
Group 3, how many here? Nobody in group 3?
There is, excuse me, there is 3 currently.
Okay. Group 4, how many here?
There's 3 of us.
And group 5, how many here?
There is 4 of us.
4 of you. All right. So once again, I'm going to have group 2 join group 3. And so there'll be 5 of you. So the people that just from group 2 went to group 3, unmute group 3 and go in and type hi so they know who you are. And all right, let's come back here. You've really been wanting a hot tub. It's on a spectacular sale, 80% off. Can you afford it? So go into your group channel and enter what you think for this. And I'm going to call on group in a moment. Okay, group 3, what do you got?
We said yes.
Yes, you can afford it.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go to group 4, get another opinion. What do you say in group 4?
This is Randolph. We said that we can't determine if we can afford it or not because there's no price or there's no range for we can afford.
So you're saying you can't tell.
Right, because we don't know the price of the item and we don't know what our budget is.
I'm gonna need particulars on this. All right. Now, it could be that this is like an extremely high-end hot tub. That's not like your usual $10,000 for a hot tub, but $100,000 for a hot tub. And 80% off is still $20,000. So it could still be well beyond your budget over here. So my initial reaction on this would have been yes too, because 80% off. But when we look at it in detail, we really can't tell. So, number 2. This brings back the point, brings out the point, is that percentage has no practical meaning if it is not followed by the word of. We didn't see 80% of something. It was just 80% off. So, I have 2 questions here. So, in your group chat, number 2. Part A. 50% of $800 is how much? And then, what does the word of mean in mathematics? So, discuss that in your groups. I'll ask your group in a minute. Okay, group 5. 50% of $800 is how much?
$400.
Okay, and what does of mean?
Someone said of is multiply.
Does that make sense to everybody? Of, meaning multiply. Let me take of and try it as addition for a moment. Then 50% is $800 would look like this. 50% would be 50 over 100 of, if it meant addition, it would be like this, and then we would get, well, this would reduce to 1/2, and we'd get 800.5. So it'd be $800.50. That's if of meant addition. And it gets us the wrong answer. So of cannot mean addition. If we try of, as multiplication, I'm going to put asterisk for multiplication so we can see it a little easier. So then 50% of $800 would be 1/2 times 800. And we know the answer is 400. But when you multiply 1/2 times 800, oh, you do get 400. So, this is correct. What does of mean? It means multiplication. Now, percentage. It doesn't have a specific meaning. We can't tell whether we can afford it or not unless percentage is followed by the word of. And of means multiplication. So percentage is begging to be followed by a multiplication symbol. And if it doesn't have that, you won't have much specific meaning. It'll be too general like this, where we think we can afford it, because of course 80% off is a great deal, but maybe not. Okay. Do the following without a calculator, without even using a pencil. It's what I call reaction math. So, do the first two. 25% of $80, 10% of the number 7. Alright, and hopefully you came up with, well, 25% is the same as 1/4. And 1/4 of 80, I can just kind of say, oh, that's $20. 10% of 70. So 10% is 10 over 100, which reduces to 1/10, which just moves the decimal point one place to the left. And so it's 7. So we get used to just doing some quick mental math like this. All right, do the next two. Without pencil, paper, just if you can write down the answer, go right to the answer. Okay, on C, 100% of anything is that thing. So all the people. 100% of the people were wearing masks, so all of them are wearing masks. All right, what's 110% of a number? Well, if we can do the 10%, we can do 110%. So I'd break this up into two problems. What's 10% of 60? And that's just 1/10. It moves the decimal one place to the left, so it's 6. And then 100% of 60 is 60, plus the 10%, which is another 6, so it's 66. Again, this doesn't have a context. That had a context. It was a number of people. This, we don't know what the 60 represented, but 110% of 60 is 66. All right, so we had some basic problems doing it, reaction math, just look at it and using our intuition. And we can reason our way through these. All right, now, estimation. I want you to do these again without doing it. Following without a calculator. All right, no, we can skip this because this is, we just did this with estimation. All right, and oh no, these are different. First one looks very similar, but do these without using a calculator or even a pencil. Don't do any, but just come up with the answer in your head. Estimations. But they're worded a little funny. See what you can handle on these. So do A, B, and C. Okay, I'm going to have you stop. So, what number is 25% of 80? Notice the of is multiplication, and so this is the same as what number is 1/4 of 80, and again it would be 20. 7 is 10% of what number? Now, does my number, this what number, is it going to be bigger than 7 or smaller than 7? Well, it's got to be way bigger than 7, so that when I take just 10% or 1/10 of it, I get 7. So this would be 70. 70, 10% of 70 is 7. Now, 100% of what number? Well, 100% of 837 is 837. And let's estimate this next one. 66 is 100%, 110% of what number? Now this one would be a really hard one to do, except we just did something very similar to this. We said that 60, if you take 100% of 60, you get 60. If you take 10% of 60, you get 6. So 66 is 110% of 60. All right, now let's keep going. I want you to notice the similarities with what we just did. We asked, what is 25% of 80? And then the question got changed. What number is 25% of 80? Just switching it up like this can cause some confusion. What is 10% of 70? That got changed in the next problem that was similar to it. Is 7 is 10% of what number? So we still wound up using this 7, and 10% of 7 is 10% of what number, which is 70 over here. This has a different answer, but it's still looking at all three of these different components. It's just kind of rearranging the question in a little bit different order. But if you can understand this question, it helps you really understand this one. What is 100% of 837 people? 100% of what number is this? So it's really asking the same question, just in a little bit different order. What's 110% of 60? Or 66 is 110% of what number? All right, we're going to be dealing with questions like this second one, which seems really tough. But what we're going to see is that it's really very similar to this, and if we can understand these, we'll be able to understand these better. Okay, so we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be looking at algebraic ways to solve these things. So let's start again. At 1:30. Does anybody need to talk to me about anything before I take my break? All right, let me mute, take my break. work it again. Great. All right, we will start again. Let's look at an algebraic way to solve all of these percentage problems. And we're going to take this first one. What number is 25% of 80? And we know the answer is 20. But some of these problems that we're going to get are going to be very difficult, and we'll want a system like this. So the system is really nice and easy. We translate word for word. What number translates to x? Is means equals. 25%, I'm going to write it as a decimal because it's really easy to change it into decimal. And it's really easy to punch that into your calculator. Of means multiply. And we get this. So x is, and we'll punch this in my calculator, and I get 20. All right, so that's the pattern. So you do part B. Translate word for word into an equation. And then you can solve. And then you solve the equation. So, let me give you a little bit of time to translate B into an equation. And then solve the equation. All right, now enter your equation into your group chat and enter your solution. But the most important thing that we're looking for is the equation. How did you translate this into an equation? Go ahead and hit enter when you enter it into your group chat and look at other entries. All right, group 5, what did you have for the equation?
7 times 0.10 is equal to x. And the person in the group put 7x is equal to 1/10.
7x is equal to 1/10. Okay, 1/10. Okay. All right. 7 times 0.10 is equal to x is really close, but it isn't exactly it. It's this is means equals. So because the is means equal, 7 is, and then 10% could be either written as 1/10 or 0.10, either way. Of is the times, and notice of comes between 10% and what number? So these two things get multiplied together. The 7 isn't getting multiplied. It's these two things that get multiplied. This is kind of I think it would be a pretty normal reaction to try to take these two numbers and multiply them together. But to multiply them together, we would have needed the word of between them. Now, why does is mean an equal sign? Well, is another word for like he is rich. He's got a lot of money. And it's this person, Joe, equals a rich man. The is kind of like describing him, and we can wind up kind of put some kind of equal sign in there. It doesn't mean an operation like multiplication or something like this. So this, I like this answer because it helps us to clarify that instead of this, now this one, again, the 7 and the x are being multiplied, but it wouldn't, it's these two things that got to be multiplied. So this wouldn't work out either. Now, if you had done either of these, we'd have gotten x is equal to 0.7. And if we'd have done this one, we'd divide both sides by 0.7. We'd get a real small answer for this. But that also wouldn't do it. Now, we get this equation right here. Seven is equal to 0.1 times x. We need to solve this equation now. And a good thing we've worked on our equation solving skills, because I got to get the x by itself. I divide by 0.10. These are going to cancel out. The 1s. And what I'm going to get is, and I punch this out in my calculator. 70 divided by 0.1, the 7 divided by 0.1 is 70. And the 1 times x is x, and we turn it around, x is equal to 70. So the answer is 70. 7 is 10% of what number? 70. Right there. Any questions on part B?
My first instinct was to subtract the 0.10 to combine it to the 7. But I'm just wondering, like, what's a way you can remember that you have to divide it? Is it because you're multiplying it by the x? Like,
Yes, that is the total reason why we have to divide it. How is it being attached to the x is by multiplication. And you know what? I'm glad you pointed it out, because that is so common. I see this with a lot of people try to do subtract 0.1 like this. Now the problem with this is it doesn't detach that. This is one term. And these are what we call not like terms. Not like a like term with this other one. And so that the 0.10s won't cancel out. If you did this, you get 6.9, which isn't the right answer. So the focus has got to be on, I like the way you said that. How do we remember it? Because of multiplication? Exactly. Whatever that operation is, we do the opposite. Opposite of multiplication is division. So we have to do it this way. Does that answer your question? Does that clarify it?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Everybody ready to move on? Or anything more with this? Okay. Now, I'm going to do C. 100%. Now, percent, you move the decimal back 2 places and it becomes 1. Or it's percent 100 over 100. Of means times. So I'm just going word for word. This becomes this, the of becomes this. What number becomes X is means equals 837. Now 100 divided by 100 is 1. 1 times X is X. So the answer becomes what we knew it was going to be, was 837. 100% of what number is 837? The answer is 837. Alright, so now I want you to do part D. Translate that word for word into an algebraic equation and then solve the equation to get the answer. And at my cue, I'm going to have you then enter it into your group chat. Okay, once you have your equation, go ahead and type it into your group chat and discuss that briefly. Okay, group 3, what do you have for this?
We have 66 equals 1.1 x, which will be x equals 60.
Very good. So then we divide both sides by 1.1 because they're being multiplied. Just like that 0.1 was being multiplied over here, and we had to divide by that. This being multiplied, so we divide. And that tells us, we turn it around, put the x first, punch this out in the calculator. 66 divided by 1.1 turns out to be 60. And that's the answer right here. 66 is 110% of the number 60. Any questions on this? All right. So let me make So that was D. I'm going to go E. Um, 240 is 8% of what number? And the first thing I'm going to have you do, part 1, is you're going to estimate your answer. So, can't use a calculator, can't use anything, except you're just going to read this, and then in your group chat, you're going to type in a number. And you're not doing any computations, it's just a kind of like my initial reaction. This is going to be about this number like this size. And when I call on the groups, I'm just going to have you kind of just tell me what all the different numbers that were entered are. We'll probably get quite a range. So go ahead and enter your numbers into your group chat. Okay, group 5, what were the numbers entered?
No, my group has said anything, but I said about 280.
280? Okay. Group 4, an estimate. What are the numbers you got?
My guess, this is Randolph, my guess was getting 230.
230. And group 3, an estimate. Or a number of estimates.
We got 3 different answers. It was 235, 230, and 240.
230 and 240. Okay, all around this. Okay, and all right, let's look at this again now. 240 is 8% of what number? Let me, for estimation purposes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to change 240 to 200, just for estimation purposes. And I'm going to change this 8% to 10% to just get a ballpark number. Now, if I said 200 is 10% of what number, do I need a number that is either bigger than 200 or smaller than 200? Now, if we look at what you all did, there was only one answer that was bigger than the original 280. So most of you were thinking, oh, around the same size or maybe even smaller. But the opposite is true. We need something much bigger than 200. 200 is 10% of. Now, when you take 10% of something, you're only taking 1/10 of it. Imagine this was money, and it was $200, and you were dividing this money equally. You were dividing a bigger pile of money into like 10 equal pieces, because your part was only 1/10 or 10%. So if your part is $200 and that's 10%, it's only 1/10 of the big pile of money. Well, then what would the big pile of money have been? It must have been 10 times as big as that. 2,000. If you had $2,000, then 10% of 2,000 is the 200. All right, so if we estimated this, I'm going to guess that it's somewhere around 2,000, not somewhere around 240 or 280, because I'm taking a smaller, even smaller percent, 8% of this. All right. So when we do estimates, oftentimes we pick close numbers that are nice, easy numbers to work with, and then we try to figure out the concept. All right. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to write your equation for this. So we're going back to 240 and 8%, so ignore my red marks there. 240 is 8% of right number. Write the equation and then solve the equation to get your answer. And then we'll see if it's what you all were saying, somewhere in the 200s, or what I was saying, somewhere around 2,000. Okay, enter your equation into the group chat and your answer. All right, group 4, what's the equation?
The equation is 240 equal 0.08 times x.
Okay, and what did you do to solve this?
Divided both sides by 0.08 to get 3,000.
And then so if it had been a giant pool of money, like, you only got 8% of this money, and it was $240. But the original pool of money might have been like 3,000, so the 8% of that is this. Now let's check our work. 8% of 3,000 is equal to 0.08 times 3,000. Punch this out on your calculator. Do you get 240? I do. And so it checks. 240 is 8% of 3,000. Alright, so now I want you to go into the main text channel and give me a little feedback on this. Was this confusing? Are you still struggling with the estimate? Or is it, you think you can do a better estimate in the future now? Does it make sense? Or is this still pretty unclear? Go ahead and hit enter as soon as you give me some feedback there. Okay, so Still struggling with the estimate. All right. That's good feedback. So I get pretty excited as a teacher when I see estimates that are way off, because it's like, all right, here's a great learning opportunity. But it also means that we need to practice this a bit more. So let me give you another one. Let's go to F. $16 is 40% of what number? First part. And I want you to estimate. Estimate what the number is. And enter your estimate into your group chat. And group 5, give me any estimates that you see or that you've generated yourself.
My group member said 20 and I said 30.
20 and 30. Okay. Group 3, what are your estimates?
The estimates are 30 and 40.
30 again and 40. And group 4 estimates?
I would say somewhere in the 40s.
So maybe 40 again. Okay. All right. So notice all three numbers are bigger than 16. And that's good, because 40% of some number is going to reduce the size of that number and then come down to 16. So we're getting estimates kind of in the right direction. Now, I might look at this and change this to get my estimate. 50% is a number I can deal with pretty quickly. 16 is 50% of what number? 50% is the same as half. And half of what is 16? So I might say something like around 32 or something like this. And because half of 32 is 16, that's a kind of a reasonable estimate. All right. So now make your equation and solve your equation. As soon as you have the equation, put it into your group. Well, actually, don't do it quite yet. Everybody solve it individually. Write your equation, solve it, and at my cue, put it into your group chat. Okay, let me do this one myself. It's 16 is means equals, 40% is 0.40, of means times, And then what number is x? I don't even have to bother to write the times. Put them next to each other, it means that. And then I divide both sides by 0.4. And I'm going to get x equals, and then 16 divided by 0.4 is 40. And we had some estimates right at 40, so we were getting it. So 40. Now let's check. 40% of 40 is 0.40 times 40. Punch that out on my calculator and I get 16. So it does check. Alright, now let me do any questions on this before I go on. Let's go to G. What percent of 28 is 7? Part 1. This one, you're going to have to really think about it. It's not easy. Come up with an estimate. Don't do any computations. Just see if you can make sense of it and come up with an estimate. And then type it into your group chat. Okay, and let me ask group 3, what do you have as estimates?
We have an estimate of 25 and 20.
All right, now you mean like 25%? What percent? 25%?
Yeah, 25
or 20%?
and 20%.
Okay. Group 4, what do you have as your estimates?
We've got 25% or somewhere around 20.
And again around 20. And group 5?
$25%.
25%. Okay. All right. Now, the real answer is going to be 25%. And because 7 is 1/4 of 28. So what percent of 28 is 7 is going to be the 25%. So pretty good job of kind of deciphering what the words mean here. All right. Now I want you to make your equation for this. And I'm only going to give you a minute here because this equation is really tough. I think you're going to need some help. But I want you to try it on your own first. So everybody write down your equation for this. Okay, group 3, what do you have for the equation? Anything? Don't think you're coming through very good. Try again. All right, let me go through it myself. What percent, let's go with, all right, the what part is once again an x. It's kind of like what number? Percent, I'm going to make it over 100. Now you might ask, well, how come I didn't change it to a decimal? Why did I make it into a fraction? Well, I normally like to change percentages into decimals rather than fractions, except when it's an x. I don't know how to move the decimal place over on a number that's just a variable. So I'm going to choose to do my percent as divided by 100. The of will be times, and then 28 is 7. So let me write this again. X over 100 times 28 is equal to 7. Let me show you once again. It could be written like this, because the 28 is 28 over 1, so it goes in the top. And when you have the variable x, you could either put it in the top or out to the side, because it's really over 1 when it's to the side, so it's the same as that. Now we've been working on these kind of equations for a while in practice quizzes and such, and to solve that, instead of dividing both sides by 28 over 100, I multiply by the reciprocal. Everything's going to cancel out, the hundreds and the 28s. You're just going to get x. Now this is going to cancel. Divide by 7, divide by 7, you get 4. So you get 100 over 4, or x is 25. So the answer is, what percent of 28 is 7? 25, or 25%. As we came up by the solution process. So this one was much easier to estimate than it was to do it. The algebra of it was kind of tricky. But if this hadn't been nice, like if this had been a 9 instead of a 7, there would have been no other way to get the exact answer than writing out the equation. All right. Any questions on this? Let me put another one. That's G. Let's go to H. What number is 9% of 2,000? So part 1, get your estimate. Okay, enter your estimate into your group chat. Again, you get a lot more out of this class if you take a guess, take a risk, even if you might be way off. All right, group 5, what were your estimates?
No one gave an estimate, but I guess maybe about 2,000.
About 2,000? Okay.
Yes.
Group 4,
I would say about 200 or so.
group 3,
Um, 900 and 1,000.
somewhere around 900 or 1,000. Let's put like
Yeah.
950, something like that. All right, so I'm going to estimate this as well. Now, so what number is, I'm going to change this 9% to 10% for estimation purposes, because it's a whole number. Now 10% is the same as 1/10. So what number is 1/10 of this? To take 1/10 of it, all I do is take the decimal and move it one place to the left. So I'd come up with around 200. All right. Now it's actually a little smaller than that because it's 9%, so maybe 190 or something like this, you know. Now, go ahead and write out your equation for this, and then solve the equation. I'll give you a quick 30 seconds for that. So, what number is x is equals 9%, I'm going to put it in the decimal, of means times, and then 2,000. It's just this. I don't have to solve, I just have to pull up my calculator and multiply them together. And does that give me 180? Is anybody getting that same thing if they punch these in the calculator? I think it's going to be 180.
Yeah, 180 is what I got.
Okay. All right, so that's our exact solution. 180. All right, so the homework is 2.4. And any questions or any comments? Okay, I'm going to stop the video, and y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you next week.
Have a good day, sir.
All right, you too.